Enzymes, they are the biological catalyst. In today's lecture we will discuss about the biochemistry of that enzymes, their classification, their mechanism of action and its kinetics. Enzymes are the biological catalyst that speed up the rate of biochemical reaction. Means if you want to carry out a particular reaction in biological system, the enzymes they increase the rate of reaction. That is, in chemistry you add a catalyst. If you want to carry out a particular reaction, catalyst is added into that reaction. What is the function of that catalyst? The catalyst, it decreases the time required to take place that reaction. Without catalyst, suppose that reaction is taking 1 hour. If you add a catalyst to that reaction can be completed in within a minute or so. So within a biological system, enzymes, they are working as a biological catalyst. Most enzymes are three-dimensional globular proteins. Most enzymes, they are proteinaceous in nature. You can note down this statement. Most enzymes, they are proteinaceous in nature. The statement is most enzymes. It is not so that all the enzymes are proteinaceous in nature, because there are some enzymes which are non-proteinaceous in nature. For example, some RNA, they act as an catalyst, so we can call them as an ribozymes. That is RNA acting as an enzymes. For example, hammerhead ribozymes, even your peptidyl transferase, they are some examples of catalytic RNA which are acting as an enzymes. But their function is the same, that is, they speed up the biochemical reaction. Now, structure of enzymes. The active site of an enzyme is a region that binds to the substrate. So as we have discussed, the enzymes, they are the globular proteins. Globular protein means a proteins which has acquired its three-dimensional structure. So it has folded on itself, employing more than one secondary structure in it. So it has acquired a globular structure. So when that protein has acquired that globular structure, some part of that enzyme or that protein, we call it as an active site. It is the site which actually interacts with the substrate. Substrate means the molecule upon which it acts or it interacts. So in chemistry we call that the two component of reaction, that is हम उसे reactant कहते हैं. In biochemistry we call that as an enzyme with which it interact, that molecule is referred to as an substrate. So active site of an enzyme is a region that binds with the substrate. While cofactor and prosthetic groups, cofactors, as we have discussed, non-proteinaceous component which are required for the activity of an enzymes, they are referred to as an coenzymes or cofactors. It depends upon whether it is inorganic or organic. So cofactor and prosthetic group and contains the residue that helps to hold the substrate. So enzymes, they are globular proteins having active site and non-active sites. The other region which is not directly interacting with the substrate but is playing important role is present within an enzyme. Now active site generally occupy less than 5% of the total surface area of an enzyme. So for example, we all of us write with our hands. So we employ our hand for writing. So we hold the pen with only a particular digit of our thumb and first finger, the first digit of the first finger. So we can consider our hand as an enzyme, and the first digit of first finger and the first digit of the thumb, both of them are actually interacting with the pen and we can write properly. So similar we can imagine for enzyme. A small segment of the enzyme which is actually interacting with the substrate is regarded as an active site. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Specific shape due to tertiary structure of protein. So tertiary structure we have discussed in our earlier lecture. It is because of the folding and unfolding of the secondary structure. Where it has more than one secondary structure, that structure is regarded as an tertiary structure. A change in the shape of protein, it affects the shape of active site and function of the enzyme. Now active site can further be divided into two sites, that is binding site and catalytic site. As the name suggests, binding site, it chooses the substrate and binds to active site. So it is the larger region of active site which is actually interacting with the substrate. But within an active site, only small region, very small region is actually playing important or catalytic role over there. That is, it performs the action over there. So that site is regarded as an catalytic site. So catalytic site is actually employed or actually involved in catalysis. Both of them are part of active site. Cofactors. Cofactors is the non-protein component which carries out the different biochemical reactions. So most of the non-standard amino acids, they are employed over there as an cofactor. Most of our vitamins, they are worked as in cofactors, that is coenzymes and cofactors. Cofactors are of two types. They can be organic in nature or they can be inorganic in nature. In case with inorganic, these are the metal ions as like Zn++, Mg++, Mn++. They are the inorganic cofactors which are required, which may be required in very trace amount, but they are must for the activity of an enzyme. While organic cofactors, they can be different vitamins which acts as an coenzyme. So cofactors को हम coenzymes भी कह सकते हैं. Inorganic cofactors, these are the inorganic molecules required for the proper activity of an enzyme. For example, carbonic anhydrase, it requires Zn++. Hexokinase, one of the reaction, the first reaction in glycolysis, that is conversion of glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, is carried out by hexokinase or glucokinase. Both of them, they require Mg++ as an cofactor. So they are inorganic cofactor. Organic cofactors, they are the organic molecules. They can be, as we have discussed, they can be most often the vitamins that are present or that we take it through the food and nutrition. For example, in case with glycogen phosphorylase, it requires the pyridoxal phosphate as an coenzyme. Types of organic cofactor: prosthetic group and coenzyme. Prosthetic group is a tightly bound organic cofactor like flavins, heme group and biotin. While coenzymes, these are loosely bound. So we have nothing to do in more detail about these things, but something that is at most required for the activity of enzyme is regarded as coenzyme. If that coenzyme is of inorganic nature, that means if it is a metal, we call it as an cofactor. An enzyme with its cofactor removed is designated as an apoenzyme. Apoenzyme can also be known as an incomplete enzyme. So apoenzyme, when added with the coenzyme, it forms a complete enzyme. We call it as an holoenzyme or holoprotein. Holoenzyme, a complete enzyme which is required or which functions. So apoenzyme is an enzyme which is without the coenzyme or cofactor, and holoenzyme is apoenzyme plus cofactor. It forms the complete enzyme. We call it as an holoenzyme or holoprotein or complete enzyme. Now the substrate, as we have discussed in chemistry, we call it as a reactant 1, reactant 2. In case with biochemical system, it is the substrate with which the enzyme interacts. So the reactant is biochemical reaction is termed as an substrate. When a substrate binds to an enzyme, it forms an enzyme dash substrate complex. So we call it as an enzyme substrate complex. So this small hyphen enzyme hyphen or dash substrate is enzyme substrate complex. So here we can find this is an enzyme, this is the substrate. This substrate, it interacts with this particular region of enzyme. We call this as an active site. Within this active site there may be an catalytic site. So active site is the region which directly interacts with the substrate. Active site is the region which directly interact with the substrate. Site of enzyme synthesis, where they are synthesized, as we have discussed, most of the enzymes, they are proteinaceous in nature. So they are synthesized by the process of transcription followed by translation. Most of the enzymes, they are functioning outside the cell. So they are synthesized by secretory pathway, that is COP2 pathway, that is the newly synthesized mRNA within a nucleus is given out. It is translated with the help of RER, that is rough endoplasmic reticulum, and after rough endoplasmic reticulum, within the lumen of rough endoplasmic reticulum, this protein is formed. Then it is packed in small vesicles. Through the transport vesicles, they are further moved to the Golgi apparatus, where the what we can say, the tags are attached, address tags are attached, and these proteins, or we can call them now as an enzymes, they are targeted to particular location. So by COP2 pathway, these proteins or these enzymes are synthesized. Information for the synthesis of enzyme is carried by the DNA. Again, we know DNA, it carries the genetic information. So for any particular enzyme or for any particular protein, there is a particular gene present on the DNA, that is sequence of nucleotide, which when transcribed, it forms mRNA. When that mRNA is translated, it forms that protein. So where from enzymes comes? They come from the process of transcription followed by translation. So it is the DNA which decides which or how much copies of which protein has to be formed. Amino acids are bonded together to form a specific enzyme according to the DNA's codes. That is mRNA, it carries information in the form of codon, and the tRNA decodes it with the help of rRNA and ribosome forms the peptide or protein chain out of it. Intracellular and extracellular enzymes. So intracellular enzymes, they are synthesized and retained within a cell. That is the enzymes which functions only within a cell, which do not come out of the cell and do not functions in other cell. So enzymes like which functions only in cytoplasm, nucleus, mitochondria, chloroplast, etc. For example, oxidoreductase, it catalyzes biological oxidation. So this enzyme we find in only a destined or particular organelle. Similar is true for the enzymes employed in the reduction reactions. They are seen only in the mitochondria. While some enzymes, they are extracellular. We can call them as an secretory proteins. These are synthesized in the cell, but they are secreted from the cell to work externally. That is, they after their synthesis, they are given out of the cell and they function at a distinct or other target organelle. For example, the digestive enzymes produced by the pancreas are not used in the cells of pancreas, but they are transported to the duodenum. Most of the enzymes, they are secretory in nature. Now characteristics of enzymes, they speed up the reaction. That is, they increase the rate of reaction. So enzymes, they speed up the reaction by lowering the activation energy. Now we'll discuss this term, activation energy. Activation energy is something that is required for a reaction to take place. So we can consider it as a threshold which has to be attained, only then the product can be formed. So what enzyme does is it increases the rate of a biochemical reaction by lowering down the activation energy. So the amount of energy which is required for a molecule to attain a transition state, that is lowered down by the presence of enzymes. So because of this, within a short span of time, the reaction can be converted into the product. The reactant can be, or the substrate can be converted into product. Now their presence does not affect the nature and property of the end product. So when we add an enzyme, enzymes themselves are not consumed in a biochemical reaction. They carry out that reaction and they are again recycled. So they are not consumed in biochemical reaction. They are highly specific in their action. Enzymes, they are highly specific in their action. That is, they catalyze only a particular kind of reaction. They feed upon, or they catalyzed only a particular substrate and convert it into a product. So they are very choosy in nature. Specifically, they identify a substrate, only then it will work on it. Enzymes, they are sensitive to pH, temperature and substrate concentration. So these are the three things that governs the activity of an enzyme. So they are regulated by the pH, temperature and concentration of substrate. Next term here in enzymology we'll discuss is turnover number. Turnover number is defined as the number of substrate molecule transformed per minute into the product. So within 1 minute, how many product are formed by that enzyme is regarded as a turnover number. So one of the enzyme, catalase, it has the maximum turnover number, that is 6 into 10 raised to 6 per minute. Next is the nomenclature.
Can you repeat this, sir?
Sorry? Turnover number. Should I repeat it?
Yes, sir.
Turnover number is defined as the number of substrate molecule converted into product per minute by 1 mole of enzyme, by unit mole of enzyme. 1 मिनट में कितने substrate product में convert होते हैं, that is regarded as a turnover number. That is efficiency of an enzyme. If enzyme has maximum turnover number, means that enzyme is more functional or it is efficient. So turnover number helps to identify the speed or the catalytic efficiency of that particular enzyme. Next is the nomenclature of enzymes. An enzyme is named according to the name of the substrate it catalyzes. It depends upon the substrate upon which it is functioning or it is acting. Say for example pepsin. So enzyme which lyses or which breaks down the peptide is regarded as an pepsin. Trypsin, renin. So these are depending upon the substrate upon which it feeds, they are named, and they are added with an suffix called as an ASE, ACE. So enzymes, they are nomenclated based upon this rules, but there are many other cases where we will not find then enzymes are named by the same way. And to bring the uniformity, because in earlier days the scientists or who have identified or who have discovered that, they have given their name and likewise. So some enzymes, their names are misnomers, they may not carry the exact meaning. So the International Union of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, they have devised a mechanism to nomenclate an enzyme. Here we can find this system. Substrate, here is a lactose. The enzyme which feed upon the lactose is regarded as an lactase. And what it converts? It converts this lactose into glucose and galactose. Next is the maltose. Maltose is the substrate. The enzyme which feed upon the lactose converts that maltose into glucose, 2 units of glucose, that is carried out by an enzyme maltase. Cellulose, the biomolecule which make up the cell wall of a plant cell, it is lysed by an enzyme cellulase, convert it into glucose residues. Then lipid, the enzyme which feed upon or which break down the lipid is lipase. Starch, feed upon by amylase. Protease, which break down the proteins into small peptides. These are some examples of the nomenclature system. Next is classification. The enzymes, they are classified into 6 major class by International Union of Biochemistry. We can call it as an International Union of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology now. The classification is based on the type of reaction carried out by that enzyme. So based upon this, the enzymes can be categorized into 6 major class. So enzymes are classified or they are categorized into 6 major classes. Each class is further subdivided into subclasses and sub-subclasses to describe the different number of enzymes and to identify their exact functions. So these 6 classes, they are, we can have an acronym for that, OTHLIL. That is, first class is oxidoreductase, second is transferase, third is hydrolase, fourth is lyase, fifth is isomerase, sixth is the ligase. So enzymes, they are categorized or they are classified into 6 different classes. So we'll discuss them. First class, oxidoreductase. So this class, the enzymes which are part of this class, they are employed in oxidation and reduction type of reduction. So the redox reactions, that is oxidation and reduction type of reactions, they are carried out by this class of enzymes. For example, lactate dehydrogenase. So it belongs to class first, that is oxidoreductase. So one molecule is oxidized, then another one is reduced. Second class is transferase. As the name suggests, this particular group of enzymes or this class of enzymes, they are employed in transfer of group, a particular group from one substrate to another substrate. They move the chemical group. For example, hexokinase or the kinase in general. Kinase, we know the enzyme which are employed in transfer of phosphate group. That is, they take the phosphate from ATP and ATP is converted into ADP or sometimes AMP, and that phosphate is given out to that substrate. For example, hexokinase, it gives its phosphate to glucose and glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate. So there is a transfer of functional group which is carried out by this class of enzyme, transferases. Third class is hydrolases. So as the name suggests, they are employed in the hydrolysis. That is, lysis means breaking down. They break down the bond, or the bond is cleaved by the transfer of functional group of water. So by employing water in it, the bonds are broken down. For example, lysozyme, which carries out the hydrolysis of the biomolecules. Next class is lyases. Lyases, they are non-hydrolytic bond cleavages. They also break down these molecules. Lyases and hydrolases, they are similar group of enzymes, but the difference is the hydrolases, they break the bond by adding water molecule to it. Here is the presence of water molecule, which is not seen in case with the lyases. For example, fumarase, it carries out that particular task. Next class, fourth class of enzyme is isomerases. Isomerases, they are a group of enzymes which are involved in intramolecular group transfer, that is isomerization reaction. So such reactions, they are carried out by an enzyme isomerase, glucose fructose isomers. Then triose phosphate isomerase, dihydroxyacetone phosphate and 3-hydroxy acetone phosphate. These are interchangeable isomers. So the reactions, they are carried out by this group of enzymes. The last class is ligase. Ligase is different from lyase. Lyase is something which breaks down, and ligase, it seals it, or it join that. So ligases, they are used in the synthesis of new covalent bond between the substrate using energy in the form of ATP or any other form of energy. So ligases, they make a bond, and lyase, they break the bond. Hydrolase and lyase, they break the bond, while ligase, they synthesizes a bond. So your polymerase, RNA polymerase, is one of the example of ligase, which makes the bond, which makes a covalent bond between two substrate. And we know for the formation of bond energy is required, and that energy is called as a bond energy. Now, mechanism of action of enzyme. Mechanism of action, the enzyme, the catalytic efficiency of enzymes, they are explained by two perspectives, by two different theories. One is thermodynamic changes that takes place, and second is the process at the active site. We'll discuss both of them. So from thermodynamics point of view, we have discussed rightly that enzymes, they lower down the activation energy. All chemical reactions have energy barrier between reactant and product. Here we can find here is a reactant and here is a product. So in order to convert this reactant into product, it has to pass through this transition state or this barrier. We can call it as a threshold. So minimum amount of energy has to be added in this, additional energy has to be added in this, only then this reactant will go into an excited state, and then it can convert into product. So this energy is regarded as delta G, or we can call it as a free energy. So this transition or this particular reaction is called as an activation energy. The difference in transition state and substrate is called as an activation barrier. So here we can find this barrier, the difference in transition state and substrate between this and this. So we can here identify that the reactions which are not carried out by enzymes, or not the reaction in absence of enzyme, they require larger amount of energy to be invested. This blue color line, it indicates larger delta G, which is of uncatalyzed reaction. When we add catalyst to this reaction, it is shown here in the purple color. This activation energy, this barrier has been lowered down. So this gap is something compared to that of uncatalyzed reaction is far more lesser. Thus it can convert this reactant into the product by or within a short span of time. That is, enzymes, they convert or they carry out a reaction by lowering the activation energy. So this is based upon the thermodynamics principle or changes. Only a few substrate crosses the activation barrier and changes into the product. That is what we call it as the rate of uncatalyzed reaction is a very slow. Enzyme provides an alternative pathway for conversion of this substrate into the product. The enzymes, they accelerate the chemical reactions by forming a transition state at a lower activation energy level. Hence the enzyme, or hence the reactions which are carried out by, or in which the enzymes are present, they are carried out very fastly. The total enzymes or total energy of a system remains the same, and equilibrium state is not distributed. Enzyme never distribute or never alters the equilibrium state of any reaction. Now, based upon the mechanism that takes place at an active site, we can further study the mechanism of action of enzyme. There are two different models given by two group of scientists. The first model given by Emil Fischer was in 1894 was an lock and key model. What they believe is this enzyme, it has a rigid structure. or it has a fixed structure, and this substrate it comes and exactly comes and interact fit in that particular cavity, only then the enzyme will interact with that substrate and the reaction will take place. So what this Emil Fisher or lock and key model has believed, like a particular lock, it has a specific key for it, so only that specific key will open that lock. Similarly, this enzyme will interact with only specific substrate and will convert it into the product. That is lock and key hypothesis. They assume the active site of an enzyme are the rigid in their structure, and there is no change in the active site before and after the chemical reaction. This was believed by Emil Fisher, but this model is not accepted. The second model given by Daniel Koshland is the induced fit model. What this model suggests is, the more recent study have revealed that the process in which the process is much more likely to involve an induced fit model. According to this model, according to the exposure of enzyme to a substrate, it causes a change in the enzyme. So it makes enzyme to change it or to alter its shape or structure of that particular active site. We know that enzymes, most of them are proteinaceous in nature, and proteins, they are functioning in their tertiary structure if it is a single peptide, and this secondary or tertiary structure, they are made up of peak bonds, so they can alter their structure if required. So induced fit model, it suggests that based upon or depending upon the substrate, the enzyme, it allows or it takes space, it makes some certain changes in its active site. Here we can find this particular site is spherical in nature and this is triangular in nature. So first active site is circular and another is triangular. Now the substrate, both of them are triangular in nature. So this substrate has, this enzyme which is shown in blue has altered its active site, shape of this active site, so that this substrate can fit into this enzyme and can be converted into product. So induced fit model, it says that depending upon the enzyme, depending upon the substrate, enzyme can alter its structure. Next thing is factors affecting the rate of reaction. So there are three factors. One is temperature. If you lower down the temperature or increase the temperature beyond a particular limit, it can lower down the activity of an enzyme. So enzymes, they function at only specific temperature range. We call it as an optimum condition. Similar is true for the pH. Some enzymes which are functioning at a particular pH, so plus or minus 1 degree or change in that pH, say for example the enzymes which are best suited to work at pH 7, they can function even up to 6 or 8 pH, but their efficiency will be lower down. And if you keep on changing the pH to extreme, that is say pH 4 or pH 7, 9, 10, the activity will be lower down. Similarly, substrate concentration also has important effect on the activity of an enzyme. So this particular curve we can see, this is a bell-shaped curve. What it indicates, this is an graph showing the effect of temperature on the activity of an enzyme. So this particular enzyme is best suited to work around 30 to 40 degrees Celsius. So this is its range, and out of that range, this particular point, say where the maximum efficiency with which it can work is here around 34 or 35 degrees Celsius. So it works best at this particular pH. So we can call this range as an optimum range or optimum temperature at which it can work. Increasing the temperature or lowering the temperature beyond this threshold, it lowers down the activity of an enzyme. Similar is seen with the pH and substrate concentration. So three factors, they are the important. One is the pH, the another is the temperature, and last one is the substrate concentration of an. It affects the activity of an enzyme. This is enough for today. If you have any question, any doubt, you can ask.